Welcome to the Life After Sugar podcast, the podcast that's not just about sugar, but about your relationship with it and also with food and especially with yourself. So if you want to discover your life after sugar and hear inspiring stories from all kinds of people who also cut out sugar in their way, at their pace, for their own reasons, this is the podcast for you. Because when you take away the sugar, you can finally discover the real sweetness in your life. I'm your host, Netta Gorman, and today I invited back Erin, who was on episode 129 not so long ago, talking about skin and skin sobering. And I invited her back today because there's a really interesting concept that Erin is an expert in, and that is the concept of glycation. I'll let Erin explain what glycation is, but what I can tell you is that glycation is connected to sugar, blood sugar, systemic inflammation, oxidative stress, and your skin, or how you look. And if you want to look younger, then maybe reducing sugar is one of the best ways to get there. We'll get to my chat with Erin in just a minute. But first, I just wanted to tell you that if you're looking for some free resources about how to cut sugar, then I have plenty for you. Come check out the Life After Sugar Facebook page and subscribe to the Life After Sugar YouTube channel, as well as my Instagram account at My Life After Sugar, which is where you'll get all kinds of inspiration. Pictures of meals, short reels, useful info to get you started on your life after sugar, as well as thought-provoking quotes and even sometimes pictures of our cat, so that you can see that it's perfectly possible to live a happy and active life, even if you don't eat sugar. You can also check out my TikTok account at Netta_lifeaftersugar. And if cravings are getting in the way and causing you to fall off the wagon, then I have 5 tips for you, especially if you're an intermittent faster, to help you get rid of cravings. Go to aftersugarclub.com and download your 5 tips today. All right, so if you want to look younger, listen to my chat with Erin. So I'm here today with Erin Tjam, who was on this podcast not so long ago talking about skin and skin sobering. And I invited her back to talk about glycation, which is probably a word that most of us have never heard before, or if we have, we're not quite sure what it is. So Erin, I'd love it if you could start off by explaining to us what glycation even means.
Oh, hi. Thank you for having me back. I am so glad that last time we talked about skincare products and why they are not good for our skin. Actually, they harm our skin. There is something else that harm our skin even more. I mean, skincare products is easier to get rid of and not bother putting on once you believe that they do not do you good. They're just like makeup. This next one has the most impact on our skin, on our overall body health. And it is an area that you are most interested in. However, people don't know about it, or if they do, they can't put it in a way that make them understand and then wanting to do something to get rid of it. The term is glycation, as you said. Glycation, what does it mean? Well, think about glycemic index, gly really is sugar. So we know that sugar is not that good for us, especially if we consume it every day. So why is glycation so bad? So glycation is a process that happens naturally in our body and also in foods that we prepare, where sugar is entangled with the protein, making our fibers, our elastin and collagen, stiff, tight. So in food, It happens a lot. We also call it Maillard reaction or browning effect, especially in high heat cooking process. So grilling, barbecue, deep fry, broiling, these kind of cooking methods where heat, sugar, some simple carbohydrates, even dairy, exist with meat, protein, period, will cause the sugar to react to oxidize and entangle themselves with the proteins, with the amino acids in the proteins. The end result is you get a crispy, crusty, and nice kind of crunchy food, which we like in food.
Yeah, it's fine on a steak, right?
It is okay on a steak. Imagine that happening on our skin, that the end result is crunchy, stiff, crispy, and easy to break. Well, how is sugar and glycation in food affecting our actual beauty and health? That is what I think our listeners should know, so it can help them, give them one more ammunition to quit sugar.
Yes. Now, that sounds like a really strong argument to quit sugar, but all the strong arguments I've found still often fall on deaf ears because people don't want to cut sugar.
No, because sugar tastes good. People don't want to cut skincare products because skincare products make your skin look nice while it's on. People don't want to cut smoking or alcohol because all these substances have some pleasure and enjoyment. To cut those things is way harder if you don't understand the damages, the long-term damages. And often people are hurt enough. They are not going to be changing their habits until they're hurt enough that it's a bit too late to change. But what you and I are trying to do is to tell healthy people, people who have the right ideas about improving their life, to begin sooner. Don't do it when your knees are already arthritic. Don't do it when you no longer can walk because your weight has overcome your mobility. Do it before it's too hard for your body to change. So let me give you why glycation is harmful to the body.
Okay.
Like all processes, many things that happen to our body that is aging, that is making it weaker, it's a natural process. We age. So oxidation, we've heard of oxidation, free radicals, inflammation. Those are the things that people know what it is. If they don't know the chemical process, they at least know the result is not good. So these things are a product, a byproduct of glycation. So when we have sugar in our body, it's hard to completely be sugarless, even for you and I. We eat carbohydrates. Carbohydrates will break down into simple sugar. And that at least takes a little bit of time and allows our body to adjust. So our body naturally will go through glycation. Hence, we naturally will get old. There's no way to preserve youthfulness for thousands of years. But what can we do to slow down glycation? And what are we doing that accelerates glycation? Because when glycation happens in our body, when oxidation, when free radicals, when inflammation happens in our body, we get sick. Our skin doesn't look good. It's a sick-looking skin. We look saggy, wrinkles. There's no suppleness in our skin because our collagen and elastins have been bound and no longer springy. They are tight and unable to go back into shape. So if you were sleeping on one side as a baby in the morning, if there's a line before you hit breakfast, it's already gone. But as an older person, we sleep on one side and the line, that wrinkle lasts all day because our skin has lost its ability to bounce back, to spring back. And glycation causes the skin to lose that ability. So eating foods that have sugar, especially high heat processed food that has sugar and protein. Hence, all these goodies that people like, that are barbecued and deep fried, will increase the amount of what we call advanced glycation end products. If you look at the acronym AGES, ages.
That's very smart.
It is very smart. And I think nature somehow tells us these things. We want you to remember because it helps to convince you don't do it. So the advanced glycation end products, AGES, will be present in food if you consume sugary food with protein especially. And these products, after consumption, increase our own glycation process by, I forgot the number, I'm sure like 25 times more of glycation. So you're speeding up your aging 25 times more. So imagine if I'm 58 now, and I think you're also in your
my 50s. I'm 53.
50s, proud middle age, but
yeah.
I don't look or feel like 50s.
No,
My
you
skin
don't
still,
look.
thank you. You don't either. And that's because we have done things to not accelerate our own aging process. Can we slow it down? Well, slowing down or accelerating is a matter of reference. If other people are aging the speed of, I don't know, twice, and we are not, we are aging the speed of 0.5, we're decelerating. So for those who want to look good and feel good, don't accelerate your aging. Don't accelerate your skin sagging and getting stiff and getting wrinkled. And as you get worse, so smoking is the worst form of increasing glycation. With smoking phases, you could even see discoloration, the whole browning, just like on steaks, the browning effect. So sugar is not good. Let this be a bit of motivation to get rid of it.
And when you say sugar, are you specifically talking about industrially produced, processed, and refined sugar rather than naturally occurring sugar in, let's say, vegetables and fruit?
Absolutely, Netta, you're right on. Processed sugar, simple refined sugar is what I'm talking about. Otherwise, I would be saying fruit.
Right.
Sugars in fruits, sugars in vegetables are in the family, in the companion of its natural fiber and natural soluble and insoluble fiber. They're fine because nature has designed sugar to exist in a way that we can take care of it because we have fibers. It is the refinery of sugar from these naturally existing places like corn. I mean, if you eat corn and have fructose, your body can handle it. Yeah. But when you take fructose out of corn and make it high fructose corn syrup, we have lost our context. Our body has lost its ability to recognize how to do, what to do with it. I mean, as a confession, I live in Ontario, Canada. So August is gorgeous season for fresh corn.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, I love it too. And I don't like the most sugary one, but every corn tastes sweet to some extent. I eat about 6-8 corns a sitting. And it's wonderful, but hey, it's excreted out completely the next morning because I consume sugar in its whole food form. Right. So we're not telling people you can no longer eat sweets. No. Sweet and salty and bitter and spicy, they are all natural forms of flavor. Eat them in their natural form. Don't eat them in the processed, refined form, just like carbohydrates. Yeah. Eat bread. Yeah. Don't eat the white bread and white rice as your daily consumption. I mean, we can always indulge and treat ourselves, right? Eat some of these foods that we know are not good for us. If you do it once a week or so, our body can handle. If you smoke one cigarette once a week, I think, theoretically, our body can get rid of all the bad stuff, but it's the daily.
It really, most people, whether it's cigarettes or sugar, it's not a question of once a week. It rarely actually ends up like that. And these foods, I can't say for cigarettes, but I think it's the same phenomenon. But these foods, these sugary, highly processed, highly palatable foods full of sugar, they are engineered to make us want more and more and more and more. So we can't stop after just one.
Correct. When I say theoretically, of course, I mean if you're not easily addicted to it. And cigarette is biologically addictive. But as you said, sugar and skincare products are engineered to make you feel good while you're on it. And once you're off it, you don't feel right. Your body craves it. So yeah, sometimes you cannot have it once a week because they're so addictive. But just say you are okay to eat a chocolate bar once a week and not fall for the trap of being dependent on it, your body can handle it. So for all bad things, if we're not doing it frequently, if we're not doing it large volume, we're not doing it long term, the harm doesn't accumulate. We don't have to live like, I don't know, nuns and monks. Is that correct to say?
Nuns and monks, love it. Yeah.
We can enjoy our life, but just understand these things are not a daily fare.
I just want to take a quick break to say that if this is your first time here, then welcome and thank you for listening to this podcast. And whether you're new or a regular and you haven't yet rated or reviewed this podcast, could I ask you to scroll down and tap on the stars to rate this podcast and also to write a short review to let me know how this podcast is helping you in your life after sugar. I love reading your reviews. And when you rate and review this podcast, not only does it encourage me to continue making new episodes, but it also helps to share this podcast and have more people see it so that we can help more people feel better and lose weight with less sugar. So again, thank you for rating and reviewing this podcast and for spreading the word about sugar. Yeah. And, in my experience and the people that I help them to find other ways of having treats and indulging that don't actually cause them harm. Because we tend to think, well, you can indulge from time to time, meaning eat sugary foods or highly processed foods. And it's, for me, as someone who can't moderate those types of foods, it's a bit of a double message, as it were, that contradicts itself to say, well, these aren't good for your skin and your body and your behavior, but they're an indulgence. And I'm like, what? That makes no sense. So it's like, rather than aiming to have them, let's say, once a week as an indulgence, I teach people how to find indulgences and treats elsewhere. And so that these kinds of processed foods are just off their radar completely after a period of time.
I love that. Actually, you just taught me something. I'm going to change my narrative of indulgence to alternatives. I actually live by that. I speak about indulgence. I never do because I found alternatives. One of my most favorite sugary drinks was bubble tea.
Yeah.
I love taro bubble tea, and I get the 50% sugar, so I think I'm doing myself good. And later, when I found out how bad it was, I actually gained 20 pounds by drinking bubble tea every other day. I don't know if I gained it because of bubble tea, but once I dropped bubble tea, I dropped 20 pounds. So I'm making a little bit of a causation there. When I realized how bad it was, I was lucky to be introduced kombucha, organically brewed, real fermented kombucha.
Yeah, now you're speaking my language.
Oh, I just loved it. I loved it so much that I can't even stand bubble tea anymore. Sometimes I would go out with friends and they want to go to a bubble tea shop. I'll have a small, and then after 2 sips, my throat doesn't feel right. My body just, So I've completely changed my body to enjoy naturally existing fermented great drinks. and not even want kombucha. Same
And
as
not want
for,
bubble tea.
sorry, not even want a bubble tea.
Yeah.
Same as for sugar. I used to like muffins, and it's a quick and fast food. And later I dropped all the sugars and only eat fruits and some actually sweet vegetables. Now I cannot stand muffins. It's not a suppression. This is a habit change. You help your body to change its habit so that the old habit no longer haunts you, actually becomes repulsive, that you don't even want.
Yeah.
So I hope everybody can get to the level, get to the space where the bad habits become, I don't want it. It's repulsive.
Yeah. Yes. That is, where I help people get to that place where it's not a question of denying yourself. You just don't want it anymore. It, as you say, it becomes repulsive. And I actively look for non-sweet tastes now, and have done for about 7-8 years, because sweet tastes, they're not an indulgence. They actually taste bad to my taste buds that have changed over time. And it seems like impossible to imagine that when you're still consuming sweet and especially sweetened foods, but it's definitely possible, as you found and I found, and we're not the only ones.
It is. To continue with that, I actually actively request the nice chefs in a restaurant to please don't put sugar in the foods that you're cooking for me, especially in Chinese restaurants. A lot of Chinese restaurant owners pride themselves for not putting MSG, but they replaced it with sugar. So a lot of the green dishes, a lot of the soups, a lot of the fish, even seafood, tastes sweet to me. And I have to ask them, please don't put any sugar in my food. If it's already in your meat, you can remove it, then don't worry. But don't put any added sugar. So you're right. Once your body is used to healthy things, the unhealthy things, even when it's secretly put in or hidden, you can taste it. You can feel it, and you don't want it anymore.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we were talking about glycation, and again, it's not a term that most of us use in everyday language, certainly not a concept that I was familiar with. And how does eating like a processed or mainly processed diet, which naturally or unnaturally includes sugars, how does that break down in the body? Can you explain a little bit like the biology of glycation?
Mm-hmm. Sure. As I said earlier, glycation happens naturally in our body. It is just like, it's like cells breaking down, things to do, get old. When you eat processed food, and processed foods are known to have additives. And one of the most common additives to make processed food taste good is sugar and simple carbohydrates additives, so fillers. So consuming processed food equals consuming simple sugars and simple carbohydrates. Our body's rate of oxidation, producing free radicals and forming inflammation depends on how much sugar we give it. If we don't have any refined sugar, any refined carbohydrates, that process of oxidation actually happens really slowly and minimally. Hence, you hear about some beautiful women in their 80s or 90s still have wonderful skin, wonderful health. But if you consume a lot of processed food with its hidden sugars and carbs, your body has a lot of ammunition to go through the glycation process, to go through the binding your elastin and collagen, making your proteins not mobile, not young, not smooth. So don't go with processed foods.
Yeah.
It's quick and simple. It's packaged for a reason. It is written of all these nice things. Sometimes it says added vitamins, added nutrients. Well, do you see broccoli saying added anything? things that are naturally existing don't need added, don't need fortified.
Yeah.
Things that are processed, being taken out of their natural environment, nutrients removed, need added. So processed food are bad in all angles, but really the worst for increasing our glycation process in our body, making our skin and body older.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't stop eating sugar because I wanted my skin to look better or because I wanted to look younger. It was a side effect, amongst many other positive side effects that I didn't know about when I first decided to stop. Well, it wasn't really a decision, but when I first stumbled across a sugar-free life. So, but I mean, by seeing just all the positive side effects of cutting sugar, better skin, looking younger, feeling younger, less aches and pains, slimming down. I mean, it just made me want to carry on.
Yeah. And for your younger listeners or older listeners who are going through menopause, one thing I forgot to mention is sugar and glycation and sugary food ramps up acne and blemishes. And we're not talking about acne that's related to hormonal changes, such as, puberty and menopause. That is a passage of life. When you have hormonal changes in your body, you will have skin breakouts that we cannot stop, but we can reduce, and we don't want to extend. And having sugar in your body completely magnifies, amplifies that whole blemishes, inflammation, as we mentioned. So if you're concerned about blemishes and breakouts, sugar is another big culprit.
Yeah.
You can cut that and get your skin into smooth and non-inflamed.
Amazing. Yes, there's so many benefits. The list just goes on and on. And it's a compelling argument for glycation to cutting sugar. But at the same time, it's just, for a lot of people, it's just so difficult to do because we're just surrounded with these products that include added sugars. Do you have a kind of a tip or tips for people who are like, I want to cut sugar, but I don't know what else to eat if I'm not eating industrial and processed foods?
There's really one solution, the simplest and yet most difficult. Cook for yourself from whole foods. Then you don't have to worry about where to look for things, which restaurant not to go to. I mean, it's hard. I think in the developing process, in the establishing process, when you're trying to quit, you can't really your body be, sugar be snuck in and not even know where it came from. I started just cooking from whole foods, whole vegetables, whole meat, whole wheat. Everything that I eat was something that I gone through cooking myself. So I know exactly what's in it. Well, but it's easy to say, right, Netta? People have very difficult lives and busy lives, and they cannot do the cooking regularly. I think just like quitting anything bad and starting anything good, it's effortful. It requires motivation. It requires encouragement and continuing to learn and to be empowered by people who are doing it right. So I hope your counseling, your help to people on an ongoing basis, help them to break the temptation. I hope that my book on exactly why skincare products are not good for your skin, they're really just like makeup, is going to help people when they're weak, when they want to go back to it, to be able to get some strength from someone who's done it, who's lived through it. I'm also going to have a webinar on a regular monthly basis to help those who are doubtful, who have gone through unique circumstances, and they just want to know, well, what do I do with that? This is what I'm going through. That I'll have a live webinar so people can actually ask me questions, and I will help them to to get stronger and break the cycle of bad skin chemicals and bad foods.
Wonderful. I'll put that link with the recording with the show. And if people want to get in touch with you and buy your book, then how can they do that?
Amazon, the massive Amazon. I'm in Amazon, all marketplaces, Canada, US, Japan, Denmark, just Amazon dot whatever country you're living in, and search Skin Sobering. And you will find my book in audio book, in ebook, paperback, and hard copy.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you, Erin. And thank you for explaining in regular, every person words, the whole concept of glycation, because honestly, it's really not something that we come across. I certainly never knew about it before I started studying sugar. And it's really very important for not just for our skin, our whole system, our whole body, and our whole present and future, I think.
Absolutely. Netta, let's spread the words. Our nation's getting sicker. Their skin is getting sicker. The whole body is requiring a reboot. And let's spread the proper message to help people.
Thank you. Thank you for helping me do that.
Thank you.
All right. Gosh, wasn't that a fascinating conversation with Erin? The concept of glycation is fascinating and something that we really don't hear about that often in relation to sugar and skin. Most of us put products on our skin because we believe that that's what will help our skin look better. But really, glycation, or aging of the skin, starts from inside. As Erin says, a lot of it has to do with what we eat or don't eat. So if you want to look younger, see if eating less sugar is actually more effective than skin creams and beauty products. And if for you, reducing or cutting sugar seems impossible to imagine, then I have something for you to help you out. If you're struggling to get started, or if you keep falling off the wagon and slipping and sliding because you find it difficult to sustain a sugar-free life, then my 5 tips to start getting rid of cravings can help you. You can download them by clicking on the link in the description in the show notes. And if you want my personal guidance and accountability and support based on all my years of real life experience living a cravings-free life, I can share with you my formula to not just get rid of cravings, but to get to the heart of your relationship with sugar so that you can live a craving-free life sustainably, consistently, and finally feel in control around food. How can we make that happen? Well, I've designed a brand new 12-week program that's designed specifically for women over 50 who've tried all the diets, including intermittent fasting, but are struggling to be consistent and to lose those extra pounds because let's face it, when we're over 50, our body doesn't respond like it did when we were younger. Not just your skin, but your whole body. And if now you're at a stage in your life where you're finally able to think of yourself a little bit more, and if you're at a point where you know you have to start looking under the hood and figure out what's really going on that's causing those cravings and preventing you from losing the weight you want to lose and feeling as good as you want to feel, I'm preparing something very special for you, my brand new 90-day program, Freedom from Cravings Formula. It will be out in the fall of 2023, and if you're on my mailing list, you'll be getting all the details very soon. And if you're not on my mailing list yet, then look in the show notes along with this episode and go download your 5 tips to start getting rid of cravings. That's it for this week. Keep in touch and see you soon for another episode.